Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this session. Maybe let's start with refuge and bodhichitta. So, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. And then the four measurables, which you can still read it like that. Maybe like this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. So, welcome and happy Chul Dushan. Chul means like magical display, and Duchen means great time, basically, or festival. And I'm not sure if you know the story, so I thought we start with that today. You might know, like Rajgir, which is near Bodh Gaya. There is it's a Vulture Peak mountain, sort of. And Buddha was there, and that was sort of the kingdom of the king Bimbisara. I don't know, maybe you have heard his name. So he was a big sponsor of Buddha's activities, and he was totally loyal and full of respect and really a good disciple of Buddha Shakyamuni. But then at that time, there were also like 6 non-Buddhist yogis, scholar, pandits. And they were really not teaching the proper thing, the proper truth, and that was misleading. But the younger brother of that king, Bimbisara, he was a student of them, and so the king always wanted that his younger brother is joining also Buddha Shakyamuni. But this younger brother didn't want to do that, and so at one point, this younger brother was organizing like a what is it? Maybe lunch or something like that. A big gathering with these 6 Hindu teachers, and so with a lot of food and teachings were planned. And then, out of respect to his older brother, he also invited Buddha Shakyamuni and some entourage, and so they all came to that event. And then, there already some magical stuff was happening. That the Hindu masters were not able to really sit on the higher thrones, or that they couldn't really get food, or that they couldn't get drink, or that they couldn't speak, And so they could only do some gestures, and so they always indicated that Buddha Shakyamuni should then teach or drink or eat instead of them. Wait, I just mute some people. Sorry, you can always unmute yourself if you want to say something. And so then, so Buddha Shakyamuni gave a teaching there, and it was a huge gathering. So many of the disciples of these Hindu teachers then become students of Buddha. And then after Buddha and the entourage, when they left, then these 6 Hindu teachers could speak again, and they were very angry, and then they also asked the Maras for help, and anyway, then long story short, at some point, the 6 Hindu masters then wanted to have a challenge, with Buddha Shakyamuni, so that they debate, and so King Bimbisara said, no, that is impossible for you guys, to win in a debate or discussion over Buddha. Wait, I mute more people. Sorry. Because he's, this king said, like, yeah, Buddha's teaching is like unsurpassable, it's like, I forgot, he gave like a couple of examples, like maybe your teaching has maybe the depth of the size. No, it's like the water pond. The water pond maybe is the wrong word. But the amount of water that fits into an ox hoof print. But Buddha's teachings are as profound or vast, as an ocean. And so the king gave some of these examples. But they really wanted to debate with Buddha Shakyamuni. Another example was also, he said, you guys are like foxes, trying to challenge a lion, Oh yes, or your wisdom is like a firefly, these small whatever flies that are sending out light, compared to the Buddha's wisdom, which is like the sun. Anyway, then because they insisted, then the king Bimbisara went to Buddha and asked him if he's ready, or if he would accept those challenge or this debate, and then he said sort of yes, but he was always vague about time and place. I mean, we know that from Khyentse Rinpoche. Is also very ambiguous sometimes, and so. So Buddha Shakyamuni always said, when the right time and right place, then we will meet, and so, and then that happened, in different places, actually, people or different kings were always then setting up the debate place, and all of that. But then Buddha was already somewhere else. And finally, and that was then in another state, under another king, Prasenajit. Maybe you have heard of him. There are many stories in the sutras, Prasenajit. And there finally, this king then also, together with some sponsors, they could make that debate happen, And then these Tirthikas, or the 6 Hindu masters, were there, and then they debated. And then that that was then happening, and then the debate was not the debate, but then Buddha's teaching included also a lot of miracles, and that all happens in Shravasti, So so he gave over 15 days. Starting from Losar until now, today is the last of these 15 days, he performed miracles, which normally, Buddha is normally like scolding the monks or nuns, when they perform miracles, because, one could get attached, oneself to one's own miracles that one is displaying, or to one's own powers, and get maybe arrogant. And also for Buddha, it's important that all these miracles are only to be understood like a side effect, side effect of enlightenment, and it's not the aim. So therefore, normally he was very reluctant to display any miracles. But there he did, you know, in order to overcome the wrong views of these 6 Hindu masters and to inspire all others in the audience. So yeah, he gave like over 15 days. Each day he performed a different miracle. And yes, that was apparently very convincing. And yeah, and as I said, you know, today we are celebrating the 15th day, which is the last of these days that Buddha did these miracles. Okay, and then I thought, since this is so easy here with this Zoom thing, let's do a virtual visit to that place. So I show you some pictures of the place. And then I thought afterwards we could recite a short prayer by Tsongtse Khyentse Shökyi Lötri towards that place. And now that you have heard the story, you might, in the prayer, you will see some, you will hear some same terms, you know, and names, you know. So let me show you. Let's make a small pilgrimage to Shravasti. If you don't mind. But you know, this is one of the 4 big days in Buddhism, so let's make good use of it. So guys, here we are with our tour bus somewhere in India. Maybe you can see my mouse. Or cursor, I think it's called in English. So Lumbini, I mean, the black things, they are just geographical points where Buddha has not necessarily been, you know, Calcutta, New Delhi, Lucknow, Kathmandu, but it's a good reference. So Buddha was born here, Lumbini, which is now Nepal, as you can see. And then, yeah, next big step is he attained enlightenment in Bodh Gaya. And then, which is you see near Patna, and then here's Gaya somewhere, and then from Gaya, like you have 9 kilometers to Bodh Gaya with a tuk-tuk. And then from Bodh Gaya, he after meditating, you know, in the forest, he then went to Sarnath and gave his first teaching there. I mean, he of course, he already said something in Bodh Gaya, you know, and that was actually his first teaching, you know, when he said, you know, that he has found this profound, unconditioned, nectar-like, blissful truth, you know, that kind of things, you know. So he was pointing at the absolute. That, of course, was his first teaching. But the next, the proper teachings, like towards to these 5 disciples, then happened in Sarnath, near Varanasi, the Four Noble Truths. And then also you have Rajgir here, you know, where you know, the story started there. There's where he gave the Prajna Paramita teachings. Vaishali is the place where Buddha gave his last teaching. Kushinagar is the place where he passed away. Sankhasa is the place, he came back from the heaven of 33, you know, when he taught there, and then he came back to earth there. And then we are talking about Shravasti here today. And this is a fresco of the king, you know, who came, Pasanejit, who came to that place then where, with his entourage, where the debate happened, and then the miracles happened. This is apparently the place where Buddha stayed. And that is, nowadays it's Jetavana Monastery, it's called there, this area, a Jetavana garden. Wait a little bit. This is still the same place. This is a stupa, you know, by this main patron there. You know, I told you there was one big sponsor, and his name is Anapadintika. You know, even though he was just a sponsor, he was still really like the factor that made all that possible. Oh yeah, and here there's some some depictions, and statues of Buddha, where he was performing miracles. Here, for example, is this twin miracle. That is actually, it's like, this statue is at the moment is like 5 kilometers from my place here. It's in Berlin-Dahlem. So this is a twin miracle because here you can see, his upper body was producing fire and his lower body was producing water. And this is here the Buddha statue and a big stupa there at that place. This is a famous Ananda Bodhi tree, also there in this Jetavana garden. Same. This is the stupa of Angulimala. You might know him, the guy who killed 999 people, and Buddha then convinced him to stop, and then he practiced and became a bodhisattva. Some say Buddha taught him Vajrayana, otherwise it would not have been possible to transform his mind so quickly. Yeah, this is the garden there. Yeah, this is the older city wall of Shravasti. Oh yeah, this is the place, this stupa where Buddha performed this miracle, with the water and the fire. So that is also a stupa. Stupas don't necessarily look like we know from Bhutan or Tibet, but they can look like this also. And here are other small stupas also in the same garden. Here's another bigger one. There's also a Jain temple in the garden. Yeah, that is a typical tanka, from where Buddha is displaying these 15 miracles, magical displays, and here, like this, the scholar said he was convincing by that. Yeah, please have patience. We will come to patience also today, but I think it's always good to remember the big boss. And yes, I wanted maybe that we can now chant this prayer by Khyentse Chökyi Lötje to this place, Shravasti. And of course, as you will see, Buddha is also praised, and the king, the place, the sponsor, and so on. And this is from Lord Sava House website, translated by Adam Piercy, and sponsored also by Ken's Foundation, and Balak Tsenka Rinpoche helped also in the translation. I will share it, and afterwards we will go into the topic of patience. So please chant along. I don't have a melody, so I will just read it. So the Conqueror's Delight and Praise of Shravasti by Jamin Khyentse Chökyi Lötje. Om Swasti, Supreme God of God's triumphant line of the Sakyas, leader of men and foremost guide for all the world. Your three kayas are to be found throughout all realms, and in taming those of limited vision, you reign supreme. Miraculous in your activity, in the mere blink of an eye, you emanated and absorbed many 100 forms, here in the supreme of places known as Shravasti. To this, the Lord of the Sages' Gardens of Delight, I pay homage. Here the light of the assembled Sangha in their saffron robes embraced the sky like fresh golden clouds at dawn or dusk. In this great valley renowned as Jetavana, Jeta's Grove, which arose through the merit of the patron Anatta Pindada. Here in the great paradise of the Dharma, the Lord of Sages, resplendent as a golden mountain, displayed great miracles that utterly vanquished the 6 elephant-like teachers, drunk on their wrong views, and the sound of their wailing filled the entire world. You subdued and humiliated all Mara's forces and sounded the drum of Dharma 100 times. Thus, the wondrous account of your great miracles like nectar that gladdened the heart and delighted the vision of God's human beings and all other witnesses, will be forever told and retold until the very ends of time. To Shravasti, a place more exalted than any other. For more than 25 rainy reasons, you, foremost of the two-legged, came here, you stayed, now recalling this again and again, I pay homage. Hence, throughout all my lives, all my future lives, may I be cared for by the Guru, Lord of sages. And as I keep the discipline that delights the noble, may I be satisfied with Dharma profound and vast. May the omniscient Buddha's teaching and its holders flourish. May Dharma patrons live long and their merit and resources increase. May the evil actions of asuras hostile to the doctrine be pacified. And may the light of precious Dharma shine forever brightly. Colophon. Thus I, Jamyang Chogyalötru, wrote this during a pilgrimage to this holy place in the fire monkey year 1956, when recalling the teacher's life and liberation and feeling extremely inspired. And you might know, maybe Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche sometimes says, that Tsongtse Khyentse Chogyalötru had visions, of Buddha Shakyamuni, when Khyentse Chogyalötru was around the Bodhi tree, he could really see Buddha Shakyamuni sitting and meditating, teaching there. Yeah, thanks to Adam and Alaksanka Rinpoche and Khyentse Foundation. Okay, that was the pilgrimage. Welcome back to another reality. So, I guess some of you are new here and some of you are again here and some of you are continuously here. What we are doing is we are like, talking about the 6 paramitas, and we do that by going actually through Shantideva's verses, Bodhisattva, Vajrayana. And at the moment, we are in the 6th chapter, which is on patience. And patience, like Shantideva is saying, and many masters since then, is really the greatest virtue of fortitude, Why? Because hatred or anger is sort of the worst emotion we can have, because it's so destructive, Destructive, yeah. So it's like temporarily it's destroying our happiness, of course, it's not that in the end of a day, in the evening we say, oh, it was such a joyful day, I was angry a lot, and then it doesn't end there, but then also it destroys our sleep. I mean, if we are angry and full of this grumpiness or wanting to take revenge, like sleep doesn't come easily. And then of course it makes our blood pressure high, our heart rate faster, our face more ugly, and it destroys our relationships, like not only partners don't like to hang around us, when we are angry, like 24/7. And also, of course, our friends don't like our presence, or our colleagues don't like if we are angry all the time. And then, of course, we also destroy our marriage, or in other words, our positive tendencies, our good heart, our love, our nearness to other beings. And anger is creating a distance, to others. It's making the gap bigger, And Trungpa Rinpoche said, that gap, is what we try to renounce, in Mahayana practice. it's like renouncing everything that is between me and you, that we try to renounce, every gap or every distance, that is, I guess, bodhicitta, renouncing that gap. But anger is making that gap bigger. We want the others to be further away, from us, because we feel threatened or whatever. For whatever reason, we categorize them as enemies, And so our love is destroyed, our good-heartedness is destroyed, our tenderness is destroyed, our empathy is destroyed, our willingness to understand others is destroyed, and we are happily only thinking about ourselves, and to be right and to win. And of course, part of the distancing is then that we solidify our ego, and that we get more self-centered, and more protective or defensive or offensive. And so all this positivity, all this merit is getting destroyed. And therefore, since that is, these are all the unwanted consequences of anger or hatred or aversion. Therefore, we have to do something about it. And of course, the Beatles are saying, "Love is all you need." So yes, that is the answer, And love, compassion, wisdom. That is always a general answer, because that is bodhicitta. That is the answer in Mahayana and Vajrayana. But here the specific answer is patience. That is more the direct opposite of anger. And patience is I don't know, for me it always sounds it's a meditation, basically, because patience means we are undisturbed and we are not getting entangled in anger, but we can sort of keep our sanity and mental peace intact. For me that sounds like a meditation, especially in Shantideva's case. It's based on mindfulness, vigilance, and conscientiousness. For the Tibetan speaking, Sheshin, Janpa, and Bayo. So these are really factors that we need for meditation. But we also need them here in the sense of developing patience, because through these three, we will be super fast and super mindful and aware to detect whenever there is some irritation, frustration, or small unhappiness arising in our mind, that could then grow into a big kind of klesha attack, of anger. And here we try to, but through this mindfulness, awareness, and so on, we are able to detect that very early, and then we can already, we can dissolve it on that baby state, And if we are able to do that, then that is sort of the practice of patience, because then we are able to keep our mental peace. We are unshakable, we are undisturbable, we are undistractable. And then we have the mental space to be wise and compassionate. And then instead of reacting with anger, we can react with wisdom and compassion. So that is really the whole idea, and of patience, and why patience is important. And if we look then more detailed what Shantideva is saying about patience, then he's giving, I think Shantideva is the best one to always point or to always describe, the mechanisms, how patience work or how anger works, and why anger is good, is not good, or why patience is good. So he's explaining that, and he's not just saying it's good and that is good and that is bad, but he's really giving a lot of food for thoughts and contemplation and meditation. And so what the verses that we look into today on patience is where we analyze a situation, and I guess you might have heard that, it's quite a famous example, and just to make it very very easily understandable, Shantideva is talking about enemies. We have an enemy, and he or she is bad to us. And the famous example here is that he or she, the enemy, is using a stick and beating us. And the stick, you can choose whatever, whatever instrument you want. It could be a harsh word, it could be a sexual misconduct. It could be a lie, all these things, that we don't want to experience. And but yeah, it's more graphic maybe if we stick to the stick here. And let me find the verse. It is right here. Sometimes I look up because I use two screens. It's easier to see you guys and the text. So don't wonder why I'm looking at the ceiling. Okay, maybe I should share too. And also, what I like about Shantideva, another thing before we go into the verses, also that he is, I mean, in normal sense, it sounds very schizophrenic, but he is always talking to himself, like in two ways, either he's addressing his own mind, he's saying, hey, I took the Bodhisattva vow, and what are you, oh my mind, doing, and then he's really talking to his own mind. And I heard many teachers requesting us to do the same, and then the second thing is also he's making up like virtual opponents, that he can debate with, But these virtual opponents are, of course, also just our crazy thoughts, our worries, our samsaric habits, that he is sort of personifying and then making them into an opponent and then answering to that, So we should never understand that as somebody out there, who's the stupid guy, and then Shantideva, whatever, patiently, reluctantly has to convince him or her, to have a better view or have a better patience practice. The same also with this whole story about Buddha Shakyamuni and the 6 Hindu masters. Is, of course, we can understand it externally, like extra mental, outside of our own mind, but not necessarily. We can also perceive it like happening in our mind, that sort of our sanity is discussing with our insanity. So that the Hindu masters or the schools that doesn't make sense, or philosophies that are very very incoherent or contradictory, that they all just represent our thoughts, or our emotions, or our wrong views, or our fears or hopes, So like the 13th Dalai Lama, I think for me, he is like the founder of Shambhala, basically. He was always saying, the war is never fought against outside enemies, but it's always against inside enemies, these wrong views, these strange habits that we have that are so self-destructive and other destructive also. Yeah, so please keep that always in mind. It's not really about some wrong views out there, but the whole idea, and that will come, of course, in the 9th chapter also when we talk about wisdom. The whole idea is that we go through different other schools that are not Madhyamika, because they represent certain ways of thinking that we might have, or certain beliefs that we might have. there, it's always the most important to just be honest and see which belief or which school or which philosophy or tradition is actually what we actually think. Maybe we are really like realists. We think there's a material stuff out there. What is really existent. And then that's our view, and then we should contemplate how we can deconstruct that view, and then maybe have another view, and then let's see how Madhyamika is then deconstructing that. So we should always apply it to ourselves. If we think only mental stuff exists, like mind only, then that is. I think that is one of the greatest views. And if we feel that is the case, that there's no external matter, and that could end up in, I don't know, do you know panpsychism or solipsism, those kind of things? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's so whatever view we have, we should accept it, and that this is at the moment our view, and we should really detect what do we think is real and why do we think like that. And then let's see how Buddhist tools then work with our views. My whole point here that I'm trying to make is just because we have heard about Madhyamika doesn't actually mean that we actually have that view. That is my point here. Or just because I have heard about Vajrayana teachings doesn't mean that I'm able to practice on that level, But it's always good to be honest and about what one really believes. And maybe some of us have some theistic ideas, that there's a God somewhere outside and stuff like that. Okay, let's start with some verses. Or is there anything we should discuss before that? Then please just unmute yourself and say whatever you feel like. Okay, I just hope my microphone was not on mute and you heard something what I said so far. Just joking. Okay, then let's go to the verses. Now, remember I said the scenario is there's an enemy and he or she is the bad guy, is harming us. And then, yes, we usually have the tendency, yes, if he or she is harming us, I have all the reasons to be angry. So that is sort of our default setting in samsara, yes, let's be angry with the person. And we do that even though this guy is actually using a stick to harm us, or what I said earlier, which I already forgot. But you could also use words, So, and then we are not getting actually angry with the stick or with the word, but we are actually getting angry with the person who has moved the stick, right? Or who has uttered the word. And that is sort of clever. I mean, it makes sense because we want to go back to what is actually the cause of it, We want to we accept that the stick is basically innocent, or that the word itself, the sound itself is innocent, But still, it is the thing, the tool that is directly harming us. But we are more clever, and we are going back one step, and we are thinking, okay, the stick is innocent, but the guy who moved the stick and was beating me with it, he or she is the culprit. So therefore, we are going to the cause, and because the stick is, and that will be repeated again and again, under the control, of the person. So the person is in control, and therefore we think it is so reasonable and right to be angry with the person. But then we can contemplate on the next sentence, But then, since she or he too is secondary, so also the person is not the main cause of everything, but he or she is under the control, of hatred or anger. So therefore, if we want to be angry with the cause, and not just with the instrument, we should understand that the person is also just only an instrument and not the cause. Therefore, in case we want to get angry in this situation, and we usually get angry because it's something unwanted, then then we should get angry with the hatred of the enemy. That is the idea, So we are not angry with the stick, we're not or the word, we are not angry with the person, but we are angry with the main entity that is in control, and that is the anger or hatred or ignorance of that enemy. Yeah, so that is the logic here, that we understand, and that is the first step, to compassion. And that we understand how the other person is functioning, I guess if we want to be Mahayana Buddhists, then compassion is a big thing, an important thing to develop. And to do that, we need empathy. And to have empathy, we need understanding. We need to understand the other person. Why he or she is doing that, and what. I don't know what difficult situation he or she is in at the moment, or what are the conditions, or and here the understanding means that we, in this example here, it means that we understand that the other person is also a victim, basically, a victim of his or her own kleshas, negative emotions. So therefore, instead of like a reflex of being angry with him or her, we can see that she or he is just not able to do better, because he or she is so much in the what is that? No, I don't know. In the fangs, let's say, in the fangs of of negative emotions. That is coming in some other verse of Shantideva, I think, in the 8th chapter. So the enemy is in the fangs, of his own or her own negative emotions. And if we understand that, we can already understand that that is an unpleasant situation to be in, even for our enemies. And therefore we can start to have a glimpse of compassion already with this person. And also then Shantideva is analyzing a little bit further and is finding out, okay, the layout is horrible here, but not to worry. So then in the next verse, Shantideva is reflecting that, yes, it's not actually only the other person who is the problem, or only the karma, only the negative emotion of the other person is the problem, but we also have a big part of it in it, because the idea is, because karmically we must have created that. So therefore here it says, previously I must have caused similar harm to other sentient beings. So I sort of, or my karma sort of is the driving force behind their actions, or emotions. So we definitely can't point one finger to them only, and say, they are 100% wrong, my enemy is 100% the error here, the mistake here in this situation, But just based on this understanding of karma, we can maybe accept that we definitely have a share in that. So therefore, the next two lines, I can make it more fitting. So therefore, it is right for this harm to be returned to me, who is the cause of injury to others. Yeah, we are still looking for the cause of everything. The first, the stick was the cause, and then we said, no, of course not. And then the person also neither, and then his emotions or her emotions, and now even our karma. Our karma is maybe the mastermind behind all that. Mm. So we can accept that whatever happens to us, hopefully we can accept that whatever happens to us is not really an accident, or a random thing that is happening. But even though sometimes it looks very chaotic, but there's some order, or some rule happening in the relative world, even though it is even though we can't directly perceive with our eyes or ears or nose, we can't perceive the cause that we have accumulated in the past. But a little bit through inference and then also through trust in the Buddha, we can maybe accept the principle of karma. And then whatever happens to us must have a cause, in our actions of the past. And and therefore we also play a big part of it. Just wanted to say something else. I forgot.
So, hello.
Yes, sir. Larry.
Hi. So I wanted to ask if you can share the text with us.
The one that I'm showing here? Yes. It's Stephen Batchelor's translation, and you can, it's sort of not so legal to officially share it.
Okay.
But if you just type in Bodhicharyavatar, Bachelor, in PDF, these three words in Google, you will find it. Then you will get the PDF. It's highly available on Google. Google is very generous with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I really forgot what I wanted to say. But yeah, it's basically we are not innocent in the whole situation. What we have had, we in the past we must have done something that is really the cause why the other person now is behaving like that. And if you study like Pramana, then as I shortly mentioned, in the question what is really real, we can like me as an ordinary person, which means I'm not on the first bhumi yet, then I can only have a very more or less educated guess job, about the working of karma, and I can use a little bit my logic, reasons, and inference, that does make sense, how Buddha was teaching karma. But Buddha himself said, the subtle working of the karma is an extremely hidden phenomena, So therefore, it is something that ordinary people like me cannot access, So with my sense perceptions, like eye, ear, nose, tongue, I can taste, smell, see, hear, and so on. I can see very obvious objects, like this one. Yes, I can see. I can sort of taste. It's just water, so it's like tofu. It's taste of nothing. Or maybe I have COVID. I don't know, but it's really only water. So, but I can feel it, and it quenches my thirst, and it's cold. So that is an obvious object that I directly can perceive, you know. And then there are more hidden objects that I cannot directly perceive, but I can infer. You know, the classic example is, you know, I see, I don't know, smoke coming out of a house, and then I can infer there must be fire. You know, so by directly seeing something, I can infer another object. In that case, a cause for what I perceive directly, which is the fire, you know, and that is, in that case, it's valid, you know. It would not be valid if I infer, oh, there's smoke coming out of the window of this house. That means these people must be stupid, you know. That is not necessarily a good reason. So and if you then diagnose and analyze that reasoning, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't hold up, because there are other reasons why there can be fire. Not necessarily a person has to be stupid, you know. It's a false reasoning also to say everybody with blue eyes is dangerous. You know, that is doesn't make sense. You know. So, and that is, and through inference, then we have, we use not our direct perception, but concepts and good logic, good reasoning, and then we can perceive a lot of more objects that are hidden from our direct senses. But Buddha said, even more hidden are things like the details of karma, how it works, and the details of rebirth. That is only something that a Buddha can see directly. So therefore, even though Buddhists always pride themselves of not being believers, we have to believe many things, you know. For example, the working of karmas, because if we are not on the first bhumi, we can't perceive it, we can't infer it properly. Of course, we can, with our logic, we can sort of understand a lot, but not 100%. That's all I want to say. Anyway, long story short, so let's assume we believe in karma, and then the consequence of that is that whatever happens to us is not a random thing, not something that comes without causes and conditions, but there are some rules that are happening, you know, on our relative level. You know, it's not that suddenly, I don't know, a banana is growing out of my head, you know, or my left ear is falling down and flying through the room or stuff like that. You know, that is just not, that would be beyond the workings of the relative truth. So on the relative level, there is this working of karma, and the right causes and conditions give the proper result. You know, that is the main essence of karma, you know. And in very simple terms, you know, good actions bring good results, and egocentric actions are harmful to others, and they bring negative results.
Arne.
Yes, Emilia.
When I think that the example of the stick, if someone gets a stick and is really coming for you, one could, yeah, I think there is anger there. And actually, I think it was Glenn Svensson in a teaching in Jamyang, and he was explaining for us to kind of get trained and use something, I think he called cognitive dissonance, like to being upset with the anger is the same thing, but he gave a name rather than with the person. Anyway, but if it's not a streak, okay, there are situations where even the way someone speaks to you, well, I can only tell about myself, that it could be through my own delusion, could be interpreted as if the person is angry at me, or if the person is being rude, where in fact could just be the way they speak. So it's kind of, the ball is on my court, and through my delusions, and you were talking about karma, is like, does that mean my own illusions and the imprints, it's all karma. And because some people, if you speak with someone who is blunt, rude, some people are going to hear that person and think not a big deal. They don't even, doesn't even come to their minds that, wow, that's rude. For others, it can just be the immediate judgment that the person is rude. But this also relates to one's imprints and whatever. And so the whole interpretation, what would be the question? Is this also my own karma making this all happening?
Yes, that will also come, for example, he will speak about that your body is soft, and so sensitive when a stick is hitting it. That is also your karma, that you created that body. And then, of course, all our cultural, can we say impregnations? I don't know, or imprints or impacts that we have through our culture, society, education. They play a big role. If I go to Finland, I think I think everybody is so cold because they keep naturally a more distance to others. And then when I go to Argentina, they think I'm so cold. Because they're hugging each other all the time. So yes, that is totally subjective. Also, how we perceive it, and it's of course shaped and colored through these external conditions, but they don't happen randomly either. They are also invited by our karma, that I am born in a specific area. We, for example, think, since I'm just seeing Masha, that the Russians, they don't have any facial expressions. That's what German thinks about Russia. And we have many comedy series about that, that you can never tell, is that person about to kill me, or is she in love with me? We don't know, because we can't read their faces, But that is stupid, it's, or if you think, all Chinese look the same, that's also what Germans think. But that is just because we don't have because we have a specific upbringing, and therefore, of course, our perception changes the world. Like in Iceland, I heard they have 50 words for snow, because they just have better training and expertise, and therefore their perception in regards to snow is much better than my perception. I can only classify, I don't know, in white and gray snow, or fresh and old, or that's it, they have so much other imprints and so much other reference points, and therefore they perceive things very differently. And all that is, of course, also based on our karma. And therefore, in the end, if you want to follow that through, what you started to say, we always, what is it? The upshot of your logic is that we will end in the Lojong slogan, drive all blames into one. It's always us in the end, as a Mahayana practitioner. That is to blame, sort of, it's our perception, it's our karma, sort of, yeah.
Well, that's exactly how I'm trying to get out of problems, is blaming everything on myself, and then that way try to stay away, like being more argumentative or stuff like that. I'm going straight on the blaming. Then I can think and reflect on maybe what's going on and so on. But yeah, I blame straight away to stay out of trouble, to try.
Yeah, but please do blaming based on a healthy human mind. I mean, some people blame themselves too much because they have too little self-confidence, or they are happy to be guilty, the tendency to feel guilty, That is dangerous, But here on that level, you know, the 6th chapter of Shantideva, we have taken the Bodhisattva vow like 3 chapters ago, you know, and we have done the preparation 4 chapters ago, and we have developed enthusiasm and understanding of bodhicitta 5 chapters ago. So therefore, the assumption here is that we have a healthy, and before that, you know, we have hopefully have created a healthy human mind, you know, just from a common sense point of view. So based on that, you know, we have already a good training, you know, and then, yes, then let's blame ourselves. You know? So that is important, I think, because if we are psychologically, you know, just very roughly speaking, not healthy, then we might create a lot of misunderstandings when we read Lojong teachings. So try to practice them. But once we are on that level, then yes, let's blame everything on me. You know?
Yeah, but the me, I'll just say that, and I'll stop talking. Well, I talk a lot. It's, on the me,
Yes, you blame you.
It's like going on ego, not the ego as psychologists talk about, but ego, the ego grasping. They say, well, it's ego, and then trying to stop kind of a reaction, or even if there is a reaction, stopping it from having on the speech, but then looking at, trying to go deeper, what's going on in relation to the ego, because it's ego. It's ego. I mean,
yes, and also
liking or disliking, it's ego, but that's the one of the whatever. I don't go and blame Buddha nature. It's like, of course not, but is the culprit. But that's my way to stop from being so reactive.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very Tonglendish.
That's what I do. Yeah.
And I think this week, I received a teaching on the 7th chapter. And the Kempo was actually, when it's talking about self-confidence, he actually said we have, even from Buddha's point of view, we have 2 types of ego, since you mentioned it, you know, like the one ego that is, the self-centeredness, you know, and the second ego is a positive thing, you know, it's just the mere identity of oneself, and one has a confidence or joy, you know, to do positive things, and it is a reference point, but it's it's not so negative, you know, but it's something more uplifting and more, there's, confidence is also the word. And Tibetan Shantideva will use that in the 7th chapter. It's very similar. He's saying nga also, you know, it's like, it's me, I, self, you know, nga gyal, you know, victorious I is the proud, the negative thing, but then you can also translate it as positive ego in the sense of self-confidence. Also, the Dalai Lama, I think, was once asked about that. And I think he even said, like, jokingly, I have a big ego, but I'm not attached to it. You know, that is sort of the difference, you know. And also when I heard that many times when masters were asked, you know, how to raise children, then yes, the first step is you have to give them a sense of identity, you know. You cannot start with like selflessness, egolessness, you know. Then they have no reference point at all, and that drives them crazy, you know. But you have to give something, but then make sure they're not solidifying it too much, you know. Like when Khyentse Rinpoche is sometimes praising Osho, you know, for having 80 Rolls Royces, you know, he's saying, that is, having 80 Rolls Royces is not the problem, but to be attached to that would be a problem, you know. And then humbly, he's also saying, I couldn't do it, but I'm not sure. It's also the same with Tilopa to Naropa, you know, when he's saying, oh, my son, you know, the appearances are not binding you, but your attachment to them is binding you. Therefore, cut your attachment and you will be liberated from samsara. So therefore, yes, we need an ego on the path. Yeah, but let's not make the world turn circle around it. I don't know if that makes sense. In German, it's an expression. The world is only circling around you. Okay, thank you. And yeah, so let's look, in the next verse. Both the weapon and my body are the causes of my suffering. So that is what I a little bit already hinted at, like just the first two lines, So yes, we are suffering because now it's, because the stick is hitting my body, and therefore I'm suffering. And why is that? First, because there is the weapon, the stick or the knife or whatever, and this is hard or sharp. And then there is my body, and my body I created, through my karma. It's sort of the masterpiece of my karma, and my karma made this body, very low tech, sort of. It's very sensitive, and maybe not resilient enough, and it's. Of course, based on the mind also, maybe we are too sensitive sometimes, And then Shantideva here at that point, he's slowly bringing us to the idea that Emilia was already pointing at, that maybe everything is our karma. Here Shantideva is first saying, okay, let's say the enemy, he or she, brought the stick, the weapon in this situation, and my karma created this body and brought my body into this situation. So the enemy and I, we are both co-responsible, for the suffering that now I'm experiencing. So here, Shantideva is often is rhetorically asking something: with whom should I be angry? Of course, either be not angry at all, but if from the Lojong point of view, you want to blame something, then we should blame both, the weapon and my karma that created this body or even the whole situation. But that will come later, that we really say the whole situation, even the even the hardness of the stick is also part of my karma, and the person is sort of driven by my karma. But that is coming in the next verses. But the main idea here is it doesn't make sense to only be angry to half of the causes, only the causes that coming from another person. But let's also take into account and be responsible in regards to what our own contribution is to the situation. And then I think in this verse, the next one's later. So he's then soon talking about childish beings also, chipa in Tibetan. Anyway, we can talk about it when it's coming. Let's go to the next one, 44. Now he is, he's first looking at our body, that it's painful when a stick is hitting is of course also dependent on the body, maybe also we are too sensitive, or and again, if we have an our emotional situation also makes the pain very differently. For example, if I see Larry now, if he is accidentally hitting me, or if he's intentionally hitting me, my emotional or conceptual understanding of his intention makes a big difference in the pain that I experience. So if I assume he is intentionally hitting me, then I have much more aversion against the whole situation and against him, and will be more angry. And and my body will hurt more, you know, really physically. It will be more sensitive to the stick. If I assume it was intentionally, but if I know it was an accident, you know, and or maybe even better if he was intentionally doing it because, I don't know, because by that he's removing the poison of the snake that was just biting me or whatever, you know. So if he's intentionally doing that for my sake, you know, maybe in a Zen monastery, you know, you get hit by a stick. Then of course my body is not feeling that and not registering that as a pain so much, you know, and my mind neither. And again, when we look from Pramana, the Buddhist epistemology, then it's then we have in our conceptual mind, we have so when we receive something through the senses, some information, then our conceptual mind, who's then receiving that information, has all the freedom to do whatever it likes with it, you know. It's like if we have a computer file, you know, and then we have the freedom to save it in a folder that is called pain, for example, or we can save it in a folder called happiness, you know. We can really interpret it, conceptualize it as we like in our mind. And so therefore, if Larry intentionally, accidentally, or with a good intention, with a bad intention, accidentally, or with a good intention, if he is, sorry, Larry, but you could be also the good guy, if he is beating me with a stick, then yeah, it can be a bad thing for me in my perception, or it can be a super good thing in my perception. But that depends on how I perceive it. So therefore, yeah, that has, Shantideva is asking us also to take that into account, you know, that it's our perception, and here also it is thanks to the sensitivity or vulnerability of our body or our emotions. Our body is like this abscess, you know, it's like a sore. So whenever somebody's touching it, you know, we cannot bear it, you know, it is so yeah, touchy, I think is also the word, you know. And on top of that, even though it's a precious human life, as we all know, Dotroko is always saying it's very expensive, you know, we have to do a lot, you know, we have to pay a lot, work a lot to sustain it, you know, to feed it, to clothe it, and so on. And it is also very much, our mind is always so orientated that we think, that we always need stuff from outside, you know, to maintain the body, you know, like food, warmth, oxygen. I mean, it's a case, you know, it's just like that. And then on top of that, yeah, it's very sensitive to heat and cold. And the problem is, of course, also mentally. We cannot just bear a little bit of problems, you know. But I think I said that in another session, you know, we are like this princess on the pea. I always want to say pie, which doesn't make sense because a pie is soft, right? So you would not hurt the princess. Yeah, but we are a little bit like that, you know, and therefore, yeah, small sufferings, we subjectively experience them sometimes big, especially if we have aversion to them. And then again, the rhetoric question here, with whom should I be angry when it is hurt? Yeah, based on all that, what I just said, yeah, definitely there's a lot of responsibility on our side. Oh, Yvonne was writing something 12 minutes ago. But I could take on full responsibility instead of blaming myself. Yeah, blaming. It's really like translated like that in Lojong, you know, blame, like Trungpa Rinpoche was translating it like that, drive all blames into one. It is, I think, not in the sense of, I mean, I guess maybe he was using blame because usually we like to blame others, you know, that is, and we always point some outside, you know. So I guess maybe he is just using the same word, but meaning-wise, I would also say that it's more about finding the cause, you know, and then taking the responsibility. Yeah. Blaming might be an unwanted word in our society, like guilt, you know, or sin. Yeah, so we could, I think, rephrase it, you know. Let me do one. So put all the responsibility onto one, you know, something like that. Put all responsibility onto one. And the one in the Tonglen teachings is the self-centeredness again, you know. It's not the self per se, you know, but the grasping or clinging to it. Anybody, anything? Otherwise, I would just continue. By the way, it's good to see some quote unquote old faces. Really, even from Czech Republic. And yes. Alex.
Hello, Arne.
Hello. Hi, Susanna. Susanna. And Alex, I think you were from somewhere Africa, right? I forgot which part. Ghana? No. Anyway. So then let's go to another verse. 45. Oh, yeah, now it comes about the childish. Is it the fault of the childish? So childish is just is another word for samsaric beings, basically, you know. Whoever is not a Buddha or Bhumi Bodhisattva is childish. And Khyentse Rinpoche is defining that also in this context as being, overly sensitive, you know, with small things. So therefore, I think the princessin on the P, maybe you can say lentil, then it's easier for me. Princessin on the Dal is that is sort of our mental problem, you know, like we cannot even stand small things. Also, then some other verses here, Shantideva is sometimes even encouraging us to just intentionally create small problems, you know, like, I mean, not in a, what is it called? Auto-aggressive way, you know, but just maybe if you have a little pain, don't take your Panadol or paracetamol right now, but maybe wait 1 hour, you know. Of course, that is not what Shantideva is saying exactly, but similar things, you know, if let's say it's raining, then maybe go out the bus like 1 step too early, you know, and then you have to walk 2 kilometers to your home, you know, the last stop you walk, you know. Or if it's cold outside, then open your jacket, you know, even though it's a little bit cold, just to get used to a small suffering, you know. The idea behind it is just, if you freak out with small sufferings here, then really all the other realms of existence, like the lower ones, will be unbearable, you know. So it's good to have some training, you know, and some, resilience, I think, is the word nowadays, right? Nowadays, resilience, you know, some oomph. So that is all meant with childish. So is it the fault of the childish that they are hurt? For although they do not wish to suffer. So that is, as the Dalai Lama also often saying, you know, that is the general understanding of Buddhism, you know, that we all want to be happy and we all want to be free of suffering. And that is used here a lot, you know. But the tragedy is, you know, we always end up creating more causes for suffering, and we are destroying the causes of our happiness, you know. That is that is auto-aggressive, actually, so that is what we are doing. And by that, basically our actions and intentions, they are so contradictory. We want happiness, but and we want to avoid suffering, but we are like pushing ourselves more and more towards suffering. And that is meant here in the next sentence. For although they do not wish to suffer, they are greatly attached to its causes. Like, I don't want to be fat, but I like to eat chocolate, that kind of thing. Or I don't want to have a dysfunctioning liver, but I like to drink my vodka. Doesn't work, like you have to not have to, but that is also, I think, not nice in Western society, but we are invited to know about cause and effect, and so that's why in Buddhism, ignorance is also defined by not knowing what to adopt and what to reject. And therefore we learn about karma. And here then we might at the moment, or childish beings at the moment might have the idea, if I'm angry and then beat somebody with a stick, that is my path to happiness. But then unfortunately, my enemy is thinking like that, and by that only creating more causes, like because he or she is attached to the anger, creating more causes for future suffering. Therefore, all the suffering we are experiencing now or in the future are always not made in China, but made by ourselves. It's always really self-made, and that is the problem. We dislike the result, but we are attached to the cause of the result, and therefore we will have more and more of these results that we dislike. That means we have more and more suffering. And then again, a rhetorical question here. So why should they be angry with others? And here, that is a nice twist, then the childish is also used in the sense that, hey, these poor beings don't know it better, They want to be happy, but they're destroying the happiness blindly. And they just don't know it better, and they desperately want to be happy, and they will suffer themselves because they're creating even more causes for suffering now when they're angry with me. So that hopefully, I don't know, softens our heart a little bit, so that we are not escalating it, with like shouting back or hitting back. But again, what I meant earlier, we have some understanding of the situation in that the other person is in this tragedy here. And then we have empathy and then compassion and loving kindness with this person. So that's a question here. So why should they be? So why should we be angry with others? Oh, Chan is writing something. Sometimes you can help somebody who is suffering a lot, so you can feel not sufficient. So I'm culpabilizing that I'm not. I'm not sure if I understand. What is? Can you unmute yourself and just talk? Culpabiliseren in French. That means we are blaming somebody? Why is Masha laughing like crazy? You can help somebody who is suffering unless you can feel not sufficient. Now I get it. Of course, we are not. We are that is our problem. That we see other people suffering, but we often don't really know what to do, you know, and we can't really help others. That is the problem, and seeing that is actually a big part of our motivation to become Buddhas, you know, or at the first step, Bodhisattvas, because we see that they are suffering, and we are sort of desperately wanting to help them, and we see and we acknowledge that we are at the moment not able to do so. So therefore, we better I don't know, upgrade our abilities, you know, our expertise, our tools, our capabilities, so that we are more able to help the other people. And that is, I think, a major part of the motivation on the Mahayana path. Because in the end, that is our aim, you know. Our aim is not necessarily, I want to provocatively say, our aim is not necessarily to become a Buddha, but our aim is to help beings, you know, to be of benefit for beings. And Buddhahood is only a tool, you know, to do so. It's not really the aim. I know there are big debates on that, but I like that angle very much at the moment, you know, that our aim is just to be of better help at the moment. And I see that I'm totally incompetent in that at the moment, and so therefore I have to level up, you know. Yeah, and then in Buddhism you have the 5 paths or 10 bhumis, how to level up, just to be more able to help others. And of course, like you are competent. Yeah, I'm only talking about myself. but didn't you say you sometimes feel guilty that you're not fully able to help, right? Or that you feel bad? Yeah, of course, we are not complete idiots also, you know. But also we are not complete Buddhas either. So that is maybe the definition of us, you know, like a mixture between those two. And therefore, maybe we can develop more good qualities, which means more tools to help others, more compassion and wisdom and skillful means that we can develop perfectly, because according to Maitreya, that is actually our nature. So basically, we don't even have to develop it, but we just have to remove everything that is hindering it, like all our selfishness and so on. And then, yeah, those qualities can manifest or can be discovered or uncovered, or they can shine through. And then we will be able to benefit others more and more. That is what the whole path is about. Meditate on the interdependence may help understand the causes, conditions, all situations. Yes. I mean, what Shantideva here doing is, Eugene, is exactly that, you know. And because usually that is the point, and that has been explained earlier by Shantideva. Usually we think, oh yeah, the culprit is only outside, you know, that is a truly existent enemy with a truly existent hatred, and he or she is inflicting truly existent harm on me, you know. And now, little by little, Shantideva is softening that view and is giving more and more responsibility, you know, like previously known as blame, more and more responsibility on us, to us, or onto us. That it's, yeah, there's of course nothing truly existent. There's not one single enemy where you can point your fingers on, but it all comes, that was really a long discussion already by Shantideva, you know, it comes from all different causes and conditions. And at the moment, Shantideva's point here is, for example, your karma is a big cause or condition for the whole tragedy. Yes, and that is really helpful, because first of all, you understand there is not one single thing you can blame, and that normally we like, also in a good way. You know, we say, yes, God created it, you know, or Rinpoche made it. or it's Rinpoche's blessing. It's a truly existent blessing. That's why I'm not having COVID. That is a theistic approach, and Buddhism doesn't like that, But Buddhists are really, Khyentse Rinpoche saying, proud that they have this view of interdependence. So therefore, there are so many causes and conditions always to consider. And that also gives us the responsibility that we can manipulate them or change them or create better causes and conditions. And also it leads to the absolute, that you understand that everything is just like an illusion because nothing is like solid. But everything is like a rainbow, based on many causes and conditions. Sounds very convincing, and very real, but you can't come up with your scissors and cut a piece out of it and take home. And yeah, everything is like that, it looks like cuttable and take homeable, but you can't. There's nothing graspable. Yeah, so therefore, understanding causes and conditions always lead to illusory nature of things, and that always leads to emptiness understanding. And that is the best medicine also. Okay, I think on this happy note, we should end. It cannot get better than understanding, like Trungpa Rinpoche was translating it, be a child of illusion, So that is the best practice in post-meditation, which we can have when we understand the interdependence of everything. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I will share some prayers. Don't worry, it won't be long. But it's always good to share whenever there was something what we have done with others. By this merit, having attained omniscience and defeated the enemy of wrongdoing, may I free all beings from the ocean of existence, with its tumultuous waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Just as the heroic Manjushri who knows everything as it is, and as Samantabhadra likewise did too, just so to follow all of them and train myself, I perfectly dedicate these meritorious actions. May the precious supreme bodhichitta arise in those in whom it has not arisen. Having arisen, may it not diminish, but ever expand more and more. As long as space remains and as long as the world remains, may I too remain to elevate the suffering of the world. May I, in each and every lifetime, carry the weight of Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. And if I cannot bear that weight, at the very least, may I be borne with the burden of thinking that the Buddha Dharma could wane. Thank you. And thank you very much for being interactive, and good to see many old friends, old quote unquote again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arne. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.